So here we are. Thanks for the invitation. Thanks everybody for being here today. So let's get started on my topic, meaning beyond earnings, the role of Ikigai, mattering and purpose in work for psychological well-being. Very, very few words about me. I'm an electronic engineer, even if I've always wanted to become a psychologist. So why did I choose to study engineering? Because at the time I didn't understand how important it was to follow a career that truly inspired me rather than making decisions based on convenience or advice from parents and teachers. However, the seemingly wrong path led me to significant discoveries about myself and the importance of professional self-fulfillment. And these are thoughts I might not have had otherwise. Right now, exactly in less than 1 month from today, I'll finally become also a psychologist, thanks to the studies and findings that I'm showing to you today. And this is the happy ending. But before that, I went through many changes in my career. I faced difficulties, fell and got up many times, while meeting others along the way who shared my frustrations and dissatisfaction with their jobs. I met people who wanted to change careers, others who did change their careers happily, but also those who quit their jobs only to regret that decision later. They found out too late that they didn't have the skills to re-enter the workforce, often because they hadn't a clear idea of what they wanted to do instead. These shared experiences had one thing in common: deep internal discomfort shown through stress, depression, anxiety, physical symptoms, and a general feeling of unhappiness, all feelings that I personally experienced as well. Work-related depression seems to cost about 620 billion euros a year, with 240 billion lost in economic output. In 2021, the World Health Organization reported that over 300 million people worldwide suffered from work-related mental health issues, such as burnout, anxiety, depression, or PTSD. And 1 in 4 workers in Europe believes their job negatively affects their health. So the importance of psychological well-being in the workplace is crucial not just for individuals, but also because it is a fundamental pillar for the long-term sustainability of organizations, because workplaces that promote mental well-being tend to have lower rates of absenteeism, turnover, interpersonal conflicts, and they all foster a more positive and cooperative work environment. On the other hand, lack of psychological well-being can lead to serious consequences like stress, burnout, depression, or other mental health issues. And this not only harms the individual, but also results in high costs for companies, such as lower productivity, absenteeism, turnover, high medical treatment costs, employee assistance programs. In some extreme cases, companies may face legal expenses and reputation damage, especially in situations involving toxic workplace or bullying. So it's becoming clear that happier workers produce better results, proving that job satisfaction is not just a benefit for the individual, but a key component of company success. And this growing focus on professional fulfillment and mental well-being in the workplace has been increasingly studied in recent decades. Because work, traditionally seen as an activity necessary for economic survival, now it's more and more evolving into a space for personal expression and self-fulfillment. And it's now a fundamental part of life that significantly shapes a person's identity, psychological well-being, and life satisfaction. And there are many studies about that. Beyond identity, research in work and organizational psychology has shown that how individuals perceive their work role and the meaning they give to their professional activities can profoundly impact their overall well-being. Maslow and later point out that burnout develops when there's a mismatch between the person and their work environment, particularly in 6 key areas of work life. And one of these areas is values. That is, the ideas and motivations that drive a person to pursue a specific career and remain committed to it. And when personal values align with those of the organization, work takes on a deeper meaning beyond just earning a paycheck. But the job becomes a way for the individual to express themselves, to contribute in a meaningful way and find a sense of purpose and belonging only when this alignment of values is available. Conversely, when there's a values conflict, a dissonance arises between what the individual believes is important and what the job requires. So the dissonance can lead to frustration, dissatisfaction, and then ultimately burnout. And in this case, burnout isn't just a result of work overload or lack of control, but also an emotional and cognitive disconnection from the work itself. Because employees find themselves forced to compromise between what they want to do and what they have to do. And so they feel they are sacrificing their integrity and their ideals. And we know all that, according to Deci and Ryan self-determination theory, that the human beings need to feel competent, autonomous, and connected to others to achieve optimal well-being. And work can offer an opportunity to fulfill these basic psychological needs. Maslow also confirms that self-fulfillment is one of the fundamental human needs, especially the need to fully express one's potential and realize unique talents and abilities. And in this sense, work isn't just a means of obtaining material resources, but a key space for self-expression and fulfillment. However, in everyday life, the role of work as a means of self-fulfillment is not guaranteed because it depends on many factors, including the nature of the task we perform, the organizational context, and the degree of alignment between personal and organizational values. And when these factors are in balance, work contributes significantly to building a positive identity and a sense of purpose in a person's life. On the other side, when these elements are out of alignment, we have feelings of frustration, alienation, dissatisfaction, and this can lead to psychological distress, such as stress, burnout, and depression. And the lack of psychological well-being in the workplace can have serious and wide-ranging consequences, both for individuals and organization. Because on personal level, work-related stress has been linked to various mental and physical health issues, including anxiety disorders, depression, sleep disorder, cardiovascular diseases, and many, many others. This is a wonderful book. In English, it should be The Weariness of the Self by Alain Ehrenberg. And in this book, it's discussed how the understanding of depression has significantly evolved over the 20th century. Because in the 40s, depression was mainly seen as a secondary syndrome associated with other mental illnesses. But by the 70s, psychiatry recognized that depression had become the most widespread mental disorder globally, a growing phenomenon that was to become one of the primary mental health challenges of the century. And today, depression is seen as responsible for many of the emotional and psychological difficulties that individuals face in daily life, including symptoms like fatigue, inhibition, insomnia, anxiety. This widespread prevalence of depression has prompted questions about the reason behind its success. And the answer to these questions by Ehrenberg is that there's an intersection between medical knowledge with the evolution of contemporary lifestyles. Ehrenberg says that depression is deeply tied to the structure of modern society that no longer bases on norms of guilt and discipline, but on principles of individual responsibility and initiative. And in a context where individuals are constantly pushed to live up to expectation, depression emerges as a response to the unsustainable weight of the energy required to become oneself. So, according to Ehrenberg, depression goes beyond the simple classification of mental illness. It reflects a social context where individuals are continually pressured to realize themselves, to be autonomous, and to take responsibility for their destiny, which is beautiful. But in a world where success and self-determination are primary values, depression becomes the pathology of failure, the inability to meet self-imposed and socially prescribed expectations. And this is a major shift, because we move from the sense of guilt typical of disciplinary societies to the sense of inadequacy and personal insufficiency that characterize contemporary societies. And in the past, psychological distress was often associated with transgression of norms and accompanied with a sense of guilt. And on the other side, in today's society, where the rules are more flexible and self-fulfillment has become an imperative, personal failure translates into depression and a deep feeling of never being enough. And this pressure towards self-fulfillment can lead to emotional and psychological overload, where individuals feel crushed by the weight of their choices and the fear of not living up to expectations. The weariness of being oneself so manifests as the difficulty of balancing multiple social expectations with one's desires and expectations. And depression becomes a sort of paralysis, where the individual can no longer recognize their own worth or find meaningful direction in their life. And in this context, Ehrenberg emphasizes how contemporary society demands that individuals be themselves and fully realize themselves, but it doesn't always provide the tools or the support to face this challenge. And the result is a condition of chronic stress and psychological overload, where failure in self-fulfillment leads to a deep sense of inadequacy and inner emptiness. And so all of this brings us to the point that what can we do as career coaches for all of this? The first suggestion is to promote mentoring, which is a kind of new construct, and it's not lots of time that the community, the scientific community is speaking about that. Mentoring is the belief that we are significant to the world around us. And psychologists and sociologists suggest that mentoring comes from two key experiences. The first is, I feel valued by those around us. And the second is, I add value to those around me. So how can we move towards this as coach? The first thing is to start coaching to overcome what are called the mattering thinking traps. Thinking traps are automatic brain responses that can distort our perception of life in general and of mattering in specifically, especially in stressful situations. An author called Lampersky says that mattering thinking traps are those situations where a person believes they don't matter when they actually do to the leadership or the organization. Awareness and targeted coaching can help overcome these traps. And so we can help clients to improve the perception of their personal value and impact, and so to help them become better in communicating their value to their organization and to those around them. The second thing is strength-based coaching, because people tend to achieve more success and satisfaction in their lives when they focus on developing their strengths rather than trying to fix their weaknesses. And I suppose that all of us know this as being a coach. But this approach assumes that each of us has innate talents or natural inclinations that make us particularly effective in certain activities or situations. And when we can, or we are helped to identify and cultivate these talents, we can achieve extraordinary results because we work in harmony with what comes most natural and with what excites us. And so investing in one's innate abilities not only improves performance, but it also leads to greater personal satisfaction and feeling of mattering, because When we focus on one's unique and competent way we can help others, we have the feeling of more fulfilling experience. We reduce stress and dissatisfaction, and we feel more deeply aligned with who we are and what we do. So how we can help people find their purpose? Maslow says that every individual possesses a unique seed representing their innate potential. If this seed is nurtured and developed, it leads to self-fulfillment and happiness. And for Maslow, self-actualization is both the primary drive of humans and the ultimate goal of their journey. Failing to reach this state of self-fulfillment or having one vocation blocked can lead to dramatic psychological consequences like depression, which comes from a sense of personal failure, as we said before, and the lack of meaning in life. Hillman also emphasized the importance of finding one's purpose through what he calls the daimon, which is an inner guide that pushes us to follow our unique and personal path. And if we try to ignore or to suppress this calling, we will end up with disconnecting from our true nature, and this will probably result in an existential crisis. And this crisis often manifests as a feeling of emptiness or a lack of meaning in daily life. And all of this can obviously lead to depressive symptoms. So the importance of having a purpose in life extends beyond the personal dimension and goes into the professional world, because a job that allows us to express our talents, passions, and values is not merely a means of earning a paycheck, but it becomes a path of self-actualization. And in this concept, as Seligman's concept of flourishing suggests, individual well-being is closely tied to finding meaning in what one does. A job that reflects one's purpose allows growth, creativity, and connection with something larger than oneself. And this, to me, ultimately leads to happiness. So when work aligns with an individual's purpose, even the most routinary or demanding tasks gain meaning, because the sense of contributing to something bigger than oneself not only increases motivation, but it also leads to greater satisfaction and personal fulfillment. On the other side, when there's a disconnect between the work being done and personal values, individuals will feel disconnection and then even uselessness, which is the contrary of feeling mattering. This dissonance betrays a part of us, that part that Hillman refers to as the me, that seeks a path for authentic self-expression. So, in this case, as a result, depression is not just a psychological problem, but it's a symptom of a deep disconnection between the individual and their unique purpose. And the absence of meaningful purpose can lead to an existence that feels empty, where daily actions lack direction and fulfillment. On the other hand, obviously, having a purpose gives us an internal compass that guides our life choices and helps us face difficulties with resilience and more enthusiasm. Purpose not only allows individuals to thrive, but also connects them with others, improving the relationship and contributing to a bigger sense of community and belonging. In the end, we can say that cultivating an authentic purpose is a fundamental pillar for psychological well-being and personal and professional fulfillment. So mattering and purpose in practice lead to Ikigai, a reason to live. What's Ikigai? Perhaps you've already heard about it. The concept of Ikigai in Japanese means a reason for being, and it represents the balance between what we love to do, what we are good at, what the world needs, and what we can be paid for. And it's a powerful idea that offers a key to finding purpose, both in personal and professional life. In the last years, this concept has become increasingly popular internationally because many scholars have begun to explore its role not just for longevity, where it started, but also for well-being and career orientation. The connection between mattering and purpose is deeply intertwined with the concept of Ikigai because both contribute to creating a sense of meaning in a person's life. When we feel important to others and we recognize that our contributions are valued, this strengthens our motivation to pursue what we are passionate about and where we feel competent. And this feeling of mattering in the social context makes Ikigai not only a personal concept, but also a relational one, something that is lived in connection with others. Because recognition from the surrounding community strengthens our sense of worth and the desire to contribute even more. At the same time, purpose guides us in our daily action, giving us the feeling that there is a deeper reason behind what we do. And when our activities align with a larger goal, not only do we find motivation more easily, but we also feel more fulfilled. And purpose helps us navigate life's challenges, gives us the strength to face obstacles with the resilience. And so even in tough times, when we have a strong sense of purpose, this makes us overcome frustration, find new perspective, find new enthusiasm, more resilience, and so on. And this is especially true in the work environment when we see a greater purpose in our work. Even the most mundane task or demanding or boring task can become more meaningful. And this is a key point to be understood not only from individuals, but also from organizations. In practice, when mattering and purpose come together, the individual not only finds their Ikigai, but lives a life that has a positive impact on both themselves and others. In this way, work becomes not just a means to make a living, but a platform to express one's authentic self and contribute to well-being of the community. In this way, Ikigai manifests as a balance between personal fulfillment and external recognition, where individual growth intertwines with collective growth. And the integration of this dimension into a person's life not only prevents feeling of emptiness and dissatisfaction on an individual level, but it also fosters lasting well-being for the community. So finding one's purpose and feeling valued by others leads to a life rich in meaning and satisfaction. So Ikigai, it's not just a goal to be reached, but it's a continuous process that evolves as a person grows, develops, and contributes to the world around them. Let's see. Oh, sorry, it's going faster than it should. Few practical takeaways for career coaches. So how to implement this concept with our clients. The first idea is to focus on facilitating self-awareness. The first step in helping clients find their purpose and the Ikigai and their sense of meaning is to support them in gaining deeper self-awareness. This obviously includes understanding their strengths, passions, values, skills, and of course we can use self-assessment tools such as strengths questionnaires or reflection exercises, and this all can facilitate the process. But another essential aspect is exploring personal values, not only as they are thought about, but as they are felt. Too often, clients may have chosen their career based on external pressures, such as family expectations or economic circumstances, rather than what truly made them happy. And perhaps they even don't remember anymore what it is. So we need to help them identify their core values and compare them with their current career path so that this can ultimately become a catalyst for change. The second suggestion is to help our clients create connections between mattering and purpose. So we said before that mattering represents the feeling of being significant to the outside world, while purpose is the internal driver that guides us. As a coach, it's crucial for us to help clients understand how their work can positively impact on others, creating a connection between what they do and the effect it has on the world, because lots of time people don't have even the idea of this connection. And this not only reinforces their sense of value, but also makes their work more rewarding and more motivating. So encouraging clients to reflect on how their professional contributions connect with the needs of society, or at least of their organization, can be really very, very helpful. So questions like, how does your work positively affect others? Or what is the most significant contribution you think you are making? Questions like this can help focus attention on this connection and find some interesting answers. Third takeaway is help to overcome those mattering thinking traps. As mentioned earlier, these are automatic negative thoughts that can make a person feel insignificant even when their contribution would be clear, would be present. So the role of a career coach should be to help clients recognize these dysfunctional patterns and develop a more balanced view of themselves and their value. And so we can use some coaching techniques such as cognitive reframing, for example, and help clients identify those thoughts and challenge them with some objective evidence. For example, if a client feels ignored by their boss, it can be helpful to review specific cases where they had a positive impact and received recognition, even in small ways, for their work. And exercises like this help the client rebuild the perception of mattering and strengthen self-confidence. Focus on strengths. We'll go fast on this because this should be a key point for every coach, because people often tend to focus on what's wrong or where they need to improve rather than investing in what they do best. So if we encourage clients to leverage their innate talents and work in areas where they feel competent, will help them build a fulfilling and sustainable career. Because working on strengths also means recognizing that not all weaknesses need to be fixed. Some aspects of our personality can be managed or worked around rather than changed completely, and this makes a lot feeling more relaxed. Then we have help finding purpose. Helping clients find a sense of purpose goes beyond identifying a profession, because purpose is something deep. It's driving people even in difficult times. So it's important to help clients connect their daily work with a larger purpose, which can range from improving their skills to the desire to make a positive impact on society. We can help our clients see how every step of their life and their career, even when challenging or difficult periods, can contribute to achieving a long-term goal. So we can make questions like, what contribution do you want to leave in the world? Or what difference do you want to make in the world? What gives you the feeling of making a difference? And this can help clients regain direction and stay motivated even in the most demanding phases of their careers. We should promote resilience then through Ikigai. When a person is clear about their reason of being, their Ikigai, it's easier to face difficulties and moments of uncertainty. Helping clients identify their Ikigai gives them an internal compass, especially useful during times of change or career crisis. So we can guide the clients through practical exercises that explore the dimensions of Ikigai to discover where growth opportunities lie. And this process will help clients stay focused on what truly matters, even when they feel lost or discouraged. Last but not least, let's train for self-determination and self-actualization, because incorporating the principles of self-determination theory can really strengthen coaching practices, because self-actualization isn't just the ultimate goal, but it's a continuous process that requires support and reflection. And when we encourage clients to become more autonomous, to cultivate competence and a sense of belonging in their careers, this will help them make more conscious decisions and find a greater satisfaction in what they do. And with that, thank you everybody for being here and for listening.